Little People, Big World fans know that Amy and Matt Roloff certainly didn't have the perfect marriage. But why do many fans think that it's because Matt was such a bad husband to Amy? Cheater, cheater. When talking about the deterioration of the Roloffs' marriage, there's only one place to start: Matt's affair. According to Amy, while their marriage was still intact, she started getting a bad feeling about her husband's relationship with their farm manager, / Matt's longtime personal assistant, Karen Chandler. Amy recounted this in her memoir, A Little Me. She wrote, "I saw messages, pictures, and other things that should not have been shared between two people who just worked together and were still married to other people." She went on to say, "In hindsight, I know I should have said something right away, but I didn't. I was scared and ashamed anything remotely like this could be happening. Was Matt really interested in someone else right in front of me? Why would he even go there when we were still married?"
Pretty much a yes or no.
While Amy said that she was devastated by this revelation, Matt never owned up to the affair. But Matt and Karen have been in a relationship since his and Amy's divorce. I know who I believe, and it rhymes with shamey. You know, shamey, like what Matt should be feeling right about now. Less than or equal to? In the best relationships, partners view each other as equals, but in Amy's eyes, Matt never really saw things that way. She wrote in her memoir, "Many discussions I had with Matt eventually made me feel less than." She went on to explain that Matt's business-like attitude and lack of compassion were often the culprits. Wanting your life partner to be more than a business partner is definitely not asking a lot. Big Bad Bully. Matt's personality is, let's call it, strong-willed. During their marriage, this often manifested itself in a way that felt like bullying toward Amy. She said on an episode, "Matt has a strong personality and one that I've adapted over the years we were together." And for her, hindsight is 20/20 when it comes to Matt's bullying. In her book, she said that since their divorce, she's learned something important. Stand your ground and don't let life push you around, including Matt.
There is like an underlying tension.
Yikes, not the best way to have to feel about your husband. Marriage is supposed to be a commitment. Getting married is a serious commitment. That's why the commitment phobic among us never want to pop that big question. Yet, even decades after putting a ring on it, Matt still didn't feel like he was fully committed to Amy. He called her committed to a fault, but he didn't feel that same way. He said, "While Amy puts commitment at or near the top of her list, I would put it further down." With an admission like that, it's really no wonder his wandering eye wandered right over to someone else while he was still married. Lashing out. Matt definitely has a bit of a temper, and who caught the brunt of it most of the time? You guessed it, Amy. When Matt needed serious surgery, Amy was his #1 supporter and caretaker. Of course, Matt didn't seem to see this. When she tried to calm him down, he lashed out, yelling at her about not knowing how to take care of the farm.
What are you doing?
While his fear was valid, he definitely could have gone easier on her. When expressing his fears about who would take over the farm if he was unable, he told Amy, "I don't want to get into it, but you can't add to my burden. You know, you have to submerge yourself in it and become involved in it." It seems like Matt's always concerned about one thing: Matt. Playing the blame game. What's the one time that Matt doesn't only focus on himself? When he's looking for someone to blame. For us fans of Little People, Big World, we've watched him put the blame on his wife plenty of times. We all remember the Roloffs' family vacation to Utah, when Matt's issues with mobility made it difficult for him to participate in things during the family vacation. He was not happy.
"I'm freaking out."
When the family went horseback riding and he wasn't able, he ended his vacation early and headed home alone. Whose fault did he think this was? Surprise, it's Amy. He thought she was putting too much focus on family fun and didn't spend enough time thinking about how this would affect him. With a great marriage comes great responsibility. What goes hand in hand with blaming things on others? Not taking responsibility for your own actions. And Matt often has this problem as well. Unsurprisingly, Matt doesn't think his bad behavior toward Amy on Little People Big World is a realistic portrayal of him. In 2018, he commented on Facebook, "We've been pushing the new producers to stop making our show negative and keep the family love and togetherness in the forefront. For some reason, these new producers/editors that come into work don't know the show and want to amplify the negative. I'm not sure we can take that kind of editing much longer." But don't worry, Matt takes responsibility sometimes. He allegedly took credit for Amy's pumpkin salsa business idea, and he only tried to take credit after he found out how much folks love the salsa. When she first pitched the idea of the salsa to him, he made her feel bad about it and told her not to pursue the idea. Sometimes not supporting your wife's ideas is just bad business. Stand by your woman. Standing up for your significant other is important. Standing up for your significant other when you're on TV is even more important.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's no secret that sometimes real people need to fake a little bit of drama to keep their story entertaining enough for reality TV. Still, when it comes to being in a relationship on screen, you definitely shouldn't throw your partner under the bus for views, right? Well, wrong if you're Matt Roloff. Matt has never shied away from making his wife look bad in front of the cameras. We saw this happen time and time again. And this wasn't just in regard to their TV show. It also happened with the farm that they shared. According to Amy, Matt never wanted her to get involved with the farm. She said his opinion was, "Don't get involved because you'll be messing up everything."
And my heart broke.
I think he should have given Amy more credit. Her help with the farm probably turned out like her salsa idea. Stuck in the middle. When it comes to splitting up a family in a divorce, most of us can agree that parents should make their breakup as easy as possible for the kids and keep them out of the conflict.
My family is definitely important, and I think it's worth the effort.
Well, it seems that Matt hasn't prioritized that either. In 2017, Matt and his girlfriend Karen didn't invite Amy to his 56th birthday party. While this may not seem like the weirdest choice, it does get weird when you realize that the party took place on Roloff Farm, where Amy was still living. And while Amy was excluded, all of her kids and grandkids were there. That definitely puts the kids in the middle of their parents' conflict. And since a lot of their parents' prior conflict was aired on TV, we know it wasn't the first time. No conscious uncoupling here. Some marriages just aren't meant to work out, and it's pretty clear that these two are both happier now that they're with other partners. But don't be fooled though, this doesn't mean that Matt lightened up on Amy during their divorce. When Amy and Karen didn't get along, Matt told cameras, "I think Amy is still adjusting to the idea that I'm dating Karen." He went on to say, I think she puts on a good, brave face, but I still think she carries some insecurities." Amy wasn't thrilled that her ex-husband immediately started dating the mistress he denied he had when they broke up. Gee, I can't imagine why that would be. Then, on an episode of their show just after the couple's breakup, Amy shared, "This is really going to be my first Thanksgiving without anybody here. Like, no family. I'm torn as to what to do because I have never had to deal with this. It is a tough life moment for me right now." But instead of going easy on Amy during her tough time, he chose to nag her about why she was taking too long to move out. As Amy was packing up her things, he complained, "You're just over here every day, taking a 2-day process into a 6-month process."
And poof, I'm out.
He went on to add, "That's why we're not married anymore. We move at very different paces." Ugh, sure Matt, that's why. We all know that there are two sides to every breakup story, but when your relationship is all over television, don't be surprised when the public takes sides. Many fans think that Matt was the villain in this marriage and that Amy deserved to move on to better things.
See ya.
What do you think? Tell us all about it in the comments. And if you love reality TV news, be sure to like and subscribe to The Things Reality for more reality tea.